Okay, welcome to the second day of the California Board of Occupational Therapy. We are very pleased to be here at San Jose State University. The time is 9:33 a.m. and if we could have roll call, please.
Jeff?
Here.
Yata? Here. Teresa? Here. Richard?
Here.
Laura? Here. Denise?
Here.
Sharon? Here.
Well, I just wanted to thank the entire board for a very productive meeting yesterday. We had a very full agenda. And to bring us back today, some of the opening comments, I would just like to acknowledge that we are at San Jose State University, which is the oldest occupational therapy program in the state of California. And we are in the occupational therapy department. So that's fairly exciting during this centennial year to be able to come back and have this experience. And with that, do we have any other board members who were maybe alumni here who would like to say anything?
Yeah, I feel I should welcome everyone here, even though I haven't been here in a couple of years. So picture me 20 or so years younger in this room. This is where I got my degree. It's great to hear about what's been going on and to see the new buildings and all the growth here. So it's great.
I can totally see you here.
I love this old building. It's not in any worse shape than it was then, or better.
We strive for
No, it's great.
across the county.
It has the character that some of the modern the new buildings lack. So it's great.
Very good. Any other comments?
Other than her standing under that large thing makes me nervous, but that's all right.
It's fine.
All right.
Well, actually, that actually is a nice little segue into some public comments. And we do have a public comment here from Winfred Schultz. Do you want to go ahead and
Sure. So I want to welcome all of you. This is the occupational therapy. This is one of the occupational therapy department rooms that is designated exclusively for our program. And this is actually the room that's dedicated for the faculty-run clinics. And many of the individuals who come to our clinics are no longer able to have any services provided in other sources, or they may not have the finances to have any services provided. So we have faculty who are very skilled in specific disciplines and specific areas of occupational therapy. Graduate students who are providing the actual occupational therapy services. We have clinics that are for individuals who have mental health issues, individuals, adults who have physical disabilities, and children who have various needs. The net effect is that these are many individuals who come to these clinics free of charge and receive services 2 times a week with the expert supervision of a faculty member, and the services are provided by one of our graduate students, and so they have one-to-one services. And many of these individuals have no other source of occupational therapy services. So we're very proud of that. We've had that in existence for well over 50 years, and this is one of our clinic rooms. So thank you, and enjoy your day.
Thanks for having us. Do we have any other public members who are here today that would like to introduce themselves?
Sure. My name is Heather Kitching. I'm the president of the Occupational Therapy Association of California.
Good morning. My name is Laura Wu. I'm an occupational therapist and a member of OTAC.
And continuing on item number 14 for public comment session for items not on the agenda, I draw the board's attention to the letter that we received from, I can take the name,
What happens to licensee?
a letter that was received from a licensee regarding instituting policy to remove disciplinary action from record equivalent to PC 1203.4. As we know, we cannot take any action on this public comment that was received, but other than to agree to put it on a future agenda item for discussion. So if you've all read it, I need to hear if this is something we think should go on a future agenda item. Do you have the letter?
Yes, we do. We addressed it previously, and if it as stands, do we need to have any more discussion from our previous discussion on this? It's the same person with the same letter.
I agree with you. I don't think we need to just address this yet again, since we already established that it's in a previous meeting that this is in statute that is beyond our control.
I agree.
So, so when this comes before, so this person can continue to send a public comment to us every time?
Yes,
Is what you're
absolutely.
saying? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's recent, so she
Okay.
has re-requested for it.
She's re-requested, so again, what we're stating is that the re-request has come back. If we could just go back for reasonable, dialogue on this, and again, restate what was said before, which is it is in statute, we can't change it, it's beyond our control. Is there a consensus on that?
Yeah, was there a letter sent to her before saying, here's the statute, talk to your legislator about, I mean, not in those words exactly, but that she could do that. Is that the avenue she could pursue?
Yes.
Thanks.
So she's just hoping you will reconsider her request, so.
We've reconsidered it, but it is beyond the scope of what we're able to do here. So for all reasonableness to anybody that comes before us, it's out of our scope, and there are other options that are available to pursue to make this happen. Do we have any further dialogue on this, or are we ready to? Okay,
So the board is declining to put it on a future agenda.
so are there any other additional public comments for items not on the agenda?
I don't know if this is the right time, President Miller, but you asked me to come with a few names for the ad hoc that you're exploring. Would you like me to offer those to you now or later?
Is that something, that would be something?
You can do it now. You can do it now.
That'd be great.
Okay, so the two primary names that I'd like to offer you are Keisha Coker. She spells her first name Kecia. Her last name is Coker. She is with the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health. I believe she would serve well to review language related to all of her area of expertise. The additional name I'd like to offer is Remy Chu Jr. It's Remy. His last name is Chu Jr. He is a longtime clinical specialist at Rancho Los Amigos National Rehab Center. Those are my primary offers. I'm sorry, yes?
Thank you for that. And I have both of these, do we know if they're willing to serve if asked, or do we start that process with them?
Because I've put their name forth in this public venue, of course I'll be reaching out to them myself, probably this afternoon.
Great.
I worked on it overnight, so no, I did not call them overnight, honestly. But I intend to
You
this
don't
afternoon.
work 24 hours a day?
I
thought you did.
Sometimes. So I was hoping to reach out to them, just given, again, that I offered their names. But I do work with them both frequently and feel like they're good for the job and likely willing, if I may say.
We very much appreciate
Sure.
your suggestion and participation. So those two names are so noted. Thank you. Any other public comments for items not on the agenda? Okay. Seeing none, we're going to move on to item number 15, which is to review and vote on approval of the December 8th, 9th, 2016 board meeting minutes.
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
Second.
And if you could take roll on that.
Teresa? Yes. Beata?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Sharon abstained because I was not present.
I knew there was something missing at that meeting. All right.
There's a misspelling of Teresa's name, sorry.
So some of those items, you'll take up the non-substantial, you'll.
Non-substantial changes.
Yep. Okay, item number 16, consideration and possible action on the board strategic plan and implementation action plan update.
So you may recall that when the board completed the strategic planning process in the summer of 15, that we had the strategic plan cover the period of 2016 to 19. And what we did is we met with DCA Solid staff to come up with basically an action plan to implement the strategic plan. It went across the 3 years. It's a legal size document. And it's many pages, and so what we did was basically condensed it down to just this calendar year in terms of the tasks that board staff will be working on. And then as, if you go to page 3, for example, in the middle of it under 2.2, you can see there are 3 things, 2.2.1, .2, and .3 that are completed. So as board staff completes these activities, we'll start putting this on an ongoing basis so that the board can see the progress in the implementation of the strategic plan. So the only thing I would ask is that if you see something that, for example, is slated for, September through November, for example, and you'd really like to see it, then that's the kind of feedback that staff would like in terms of having, this is your strategic plan, and so we would like to execute the tasks, in the order of priority that you see. So this includes all activities, but in terms of the calendar year, there are some that are blanks because they are going to be in 2018.
Do we have the, again, I don't know, this is just a connection that I'm making, I'm not sure if it's the correct connection, but having just gone through the sunset process, how closely is the strategic plan aligned to some of the questions we were asked, and is there things that we might want to go through together, you and I, to bring back to the board to consider adding? I know Breeze is in there, is in our strategic plan as part of our outreach. I know that webcasting's in there as part of our outreach. But for example, some of the questions asked about us regarding enforcement.
I was looking for the issues. So I really.
And if you want time to
I
review it.
don't have a response right now to that, but I do think that is something that you and I could do a comparison and then report back if we'd like. Then we can report back at the next meeting any of the changes that were made. So, for example, just using the first page. Maybe some of these tasks could be pushed to 2018 because you'd like to see some other ones done this year.
When we work on the strategic plan together, when we've done at DCA, we prioritize them. I remember doing that.
That's what I remember too.
Yeah,
We did.
we got this.
I remember
and
that.
We did prioritize it.
Well, there's, for example, with the pursuing the regulatory amendment to require OTs to seek practice approval for board-approved courses, we would also need to put a mechanism. Does that also include getting a review board together to review courses?
Well, right now we contract with people and pay them as experts for the courses.
And there's a time frame for doing that, right?
I'm not sure what you're talking about, but the experts, so what happens is the people that are have advanced practice approval, they review both the courses submitted by the providers to be an approved course, and then they also review the courses that an occupational therapist has completed that isn't an approved course, and then the experts review it to determine if it relates back to that particular advanced practice area, in order to give the individual credit towards reaching the 30 or the 45 hours of post-professional education.
I do remember outreach was one, technology. We put our mind in these big categories about how we were going to. Okay.
So then what I'll have to do is I'll have to go back because this document was actually prepared by Solid.
Because they had to as an exercise before we left.
So and maybe this reflects that in terms of the timing of the tasks. I'm not sure about that. But what I can do is follow up and report back on that, as well as taking what Denise said about looking at the issues identified in the Sunset Report and seeing where they aligned with these activities.
Mhm.
So I can report back on the prioritization as well as the,
And I'll look at that too and give you input. And Vice President Buchalter, you were in the sunset process. If you feel like doing that, please by all means give feedback. And for any of you, do they all have the issues in the sunset, or was that
yes,
just
it's under agenda item 5.
5? Okay, so you did have, anybody could frankly provide feedback then. So if you're so moved, and that would be great if we just could come back at our next meeting just with a quick update.
So between this meeting and the next meeting, we would prioritize each of the large areas, and then would we sort of draft our own priority thing, you think? And then bring it back to the meeting and discuss it as a group?
Well, no, we actually we prioritized already. It would just be a looking over the sunset review and seeing if we're in line, if we're in line with our strategic plan. It's really not a laborious process at all.
Okay.
It's just more of a looking at it, making sure that, everything makes sense from all the efforts that we're putting out there.
President, it's also, as I'm looking at the headers, they look like they're prioritized.
Mind speaking a
Yeah.
little,
That's
a
what I
little
think.
A little
louder?
bit louder?
Thank you.
So that's right, they are prioritized in the way that we put them. So it's really just a matter of looking at how those priorities are reflected in the things that we were asked to produce from our sunset review.
Okay.
So thank you for clarifying. All right. Any other comments for items under number 16?
I'm sorry, I just want to have one more question.
Yeah.
So these columns on the right are not something that we were filling out as a group. This is as they are completed. This is a plan.
So this
Schedule?
is a schedule, a plan to complete. And then,
So the target date for 1.1.1 would be, let's say, Q2, May of 2017, and you would put an X there. And the target date of 1.1.2 would be July of 2017, something like that, right? So we're supposed to fill out all that stuff.
yes. And then
Which
We're
sounds
not
like
supposed to.
we will.
Staff
We're
board
doing
staff
a
does.
reporting back, and what I can do is
Okay.
instead of
That
just
makes sense.
taking out the dates to the right, so on page 3, for example, under 2.2, the first 3 tasks have been completed. So you'll note that the word completed is in place of who's responsible, as well as there's no indication of timing. All the coloring has been removed.
Okay. Sorry, I was just unclear that you were going to.
So- And so as we go on, there should be more completes and less tasks scheduled to be completed.
Thank you for that clarification.
Any comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to agenda number 17, update and action taken if necessary on pending rulemaking files, California Code of Regulations. This is in relation to fees, continuing competence, and the notice to the consumer.
So this is the standard regulations update report with the first page of the report showing the various packages that are somewhere in the process. So, for example, since we last met, the telehealth language was approved due to the way that the regs take effect on a quarterly basis. You can see that it will take effect on April 1st. And then for the fees, it's been submitted to the department in October. We're waiting for that to come back. The 1-year deadline is later this month, and it's my understanding we'll either get the package back so we can submit it by the deadline or possibly get an extension. Continuing competence one also has been submitted. It's going through the review process. As well, the notice to consumer is my understanding is being submitted either this week or next week. And then, of course, the next one will be this petition for reinstatement in terms of actually submitting it to DCA to begin that approval process. Any questions?
Any comment from the public? Okay.
And then on the back page are additional proposals. You can see the first 3, the probation monitoring costs, filing of addresses, and accepting a physical therapist license for an occupational therapist that is duly licensed, accepting that as meeting the hands and Pam's approval. So we have not yet begun the process on these, even though the board's approved the language. The regulatory review process has changed, where there is some steps that would normally take place at the end of the process after it had been noticed and the board had adopted it. It's now switched, and some of this is being reviewed in advance of the actual noticing of the language. So that's more to come on those. Question?
Okay, thank you very much. No further comments? No comments from the public? Seeing none, we'll go to agenda item 18. Consideration of possible action of amending the California Code of Regulations, specifically as it relates to completion and reporting requirements for continuing competency, and as it relates to licensees not responding timely to continuing competencies audits and a potential compliance mechanism.
So you may recall that as we report the enforcement information, that includes both cases that are transmitted to the Office of the Attorney General, as well as the information about the citations being issued, that the majority of the citations have been for PDU violations. Either they did not complete enough, or they didn't complete any at all. Either way, one of the things that would happen is that after the citation was issued, then people would suddenly find the time to obtain copies of the certificates to submit to demonstrate that they had met the requirement in the previous renewal cycle. A couple of things. It artificially inflates our complaints when it's not a real violation because they have completed, they just haven't demonstrated that to the board. And so one of the things that was talked about was, well, let's have a mechanism to either encourage them to respond sooner, or in the event that they don't, instead of just simply dismissing the citation because the violation is failure to demonstrate completion, and once they submit that, they have. This proposed language, I worked with Ileana on it, and basically would still give the board the authority to issue that citation even to someone who was issued a citation for not completing it and then later submits them and demonstrates completion. This would allow the board to still issue that citation to them, because we had a lot of citations that were dismissed because, again, 9 months, 10 months later, suddenly they can provide the certificates from 14 and 15, for example. That's what this is. It was intended to be a mechanism to still hold that individual accountable for their failure to timely submit the information.
So the language is stronger.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it. Anybody else?
I'm just gonna, the penalty that would be waived if they provided it currently is what? And the penalty that would not be waived under this new rule is what? And
If the individual has not completed enough, then they get a citation for $250 and an order of abatement that says you must either complete the full 24 if they had none, or order them to whatever amount they didn't complete.
Right.
The balance. So if they did 20, then the order, and they needed 24, the order says, and you have 30 days to do four more hours. Then there's a higher citation because some folks don't respond to the audit at all. And so then we really don't know if they've met that. So then we issue a citation for failing to demonstrate that they've met the requirement, and that's a $500 citation. In either case, what happens often is that then after we go through this process and we've served the citation, then they submit their appeal, and with it are oftentimes their PDUs. And so then we would dismiss the citation.
in this situation, we may give them credit for the PDUs, they could be licensed going forward, but they would still have had to pay the fine or the fee or the penalty for.
Right, we wouldn't
cover
just
the cost.
dismiss it,
Right.
because we just dismiss the whole citation, which includes the order of abatement and the fine. And then for their not responding timely, would be like, well, you're still gonna get a citation because we sent you 2 audit letters and we issued you a citation, and now, 10 months later, you're demonstrating it.
Yeah.
But there's still a penalty, if you will, for making us go through all this work of opening a
Sure.
complaint, working a complaint, when in fact it's not a legitimate violation. But we don't know that.
Right.
I like it. Shall we call the question?
Yeah.
I move to accept the proposed language changes to 4162.
Second.
As
Second by Laura.
All right, Teresa?
Yes.
Beata?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Richard?
yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Sharon? Yes.
If we could also please have a motion that would allow me to work with legal counsel for any,
I move to allow the executive officer to work with legal counsel to make non-substantive changes to the language as needed.
Second.
And roll, Teresa?
yes.
Beata?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Sharon? Yes.
Okay, agenda item number 19. Consideration and possible action on establishing a policy to require that legal documents be sent to an applicant or licensee's email address on file with the board. If no one is available, in addition to required legal service as an additional method of reaching the applicant licensee. So we have proposed text before us. And if you could provide more background.
At a prior board meeting, this language was presented to the board about basically very much expanding the filing of addresses requirement. And so in that, the language that you see is the same language except for the highlighted part. And because there was a motion to accept the language, but then there was also a comment about the forms that are required not being incorporated by reference. So what you can see here is the shaded, we added the word mailing to the first line, and in section B and C, we have incorporated the actual forms by reference as required by OAL if we're going to have one. So we've changed this to meet the OAL requirements. You can see the forms follow it. And the reason for the policy is that one of the concerns, if you will, that Ileana had expressed was that we're not sure that the board can demonstrate necessity. There's these 6 standards that every rulemaking package has to meet, and one includes necessity. So I included this language in here, the definition of necessity. And what you can see is I highlighted this. So in section 10B2, one of the things it says is that the necessity is when the explanation is based upon policies, conclusions, etc. So honing in on the word policies, we are proposing a policy that expands the service of documents to include sending an email and as a way to help justify the necessity of getting the language to require an email address if one is available. This policy is basically, I'm suggesting this so that the board could meet the necessity standard when submitting this proposal.
So as it currently states on the sheet that we have, just to make sure I understand this item right here, draft, this policy, is this anywhere or is this,
No, this is brand new.
and this is what you worked on with Ileana?
Correct.
Okay, and this proposed text is all in this draft?
The policy is a way that we're hoping to meet the necessity standard to get this proposed text through the review process.
Got it, okay, is that, okay. Ileana, did you want to add anything?
No, I think Heather covered it. I mean, the whole, in order to have a stronger showing of necessity, if you have a board policy that says, hey, we really need these email addresses, this is why, this is why it would be helpful to us. If you have a board policy that says that in the necessity of the regulation, because you have to show that you need to make these amendments to the regulation, if you have a policy that you're basing that on, it helps support that.
It seems reasonable to me. Any other comments? Any comments from the public? Anybody so moved to make a motion to accept proposed
I'll
text?
make a motion to accept the proposed text on general provisions 4102, filing of addresses and changes in name.
Second.
Let him go.
And the policy.
I was gonna see if you wanted a second motion. Sorry about it. Do you want two motions or do you want them, is it okay for both of them to be in one?
Well, we don't, because the last meeting, the board did actually do a motion and voted to allow Heather and I to just fix whatever legal issues were in here, which Heather did. So you don't need a motion to accept this because there hasn't really been
So
any
it's just
major
the policy.
changes. So just the policy, that's why I'm
Thank
like,
you.
Okay, so under general provisions 4102, I move to accept the policy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Roll, Teresa?
Yes.
Beata?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Sharon? Yes.
Okay, we only have a few more items on our agenda, so we are going to take a short break. And then come back together. There are a couple things that I need to gather on the break. So if we could, it's 10:04, and if we could come back together at 10:15. Sharp.